I would use food as a way to punish myself, and it was a way to have control in my life, especially in the areas that I felt out of control. This book that I'm reading right now is written by a therapist, but she said that another therapist said to her one time, remember that someone's problem that they're coming in with used to be their solution. And so for me, my problem was the disordered eating that I was having, but it was the solution to me feeling out of control in my life at that point in time. For years, I have carried this kind of like resentment towards everyone else that was doing social media and building their businesses and thriving. Welcome to the Balance Era, a podcast for the women rewriting the rules. Here, we leave behind the pressure to be perfect and step into a life built on self-love, softness, strength, and intention. I'm your host, Madison, a former overachiever, fitness girl, and lifelong perfectionist, learning how to slow down, show up, and trust myself again. Each week, we'll be talking about what it really means to live in alignment, from body image and burnout to confidence, femininity, and chasing big dreams without losing yourself in the process. This is your space to breathe, to feel seen, and to remember you don't have to choose between ambition and peace. Welcome to the Balance Era. You're right on time. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Balance Era podcast. Today, I want to talk about something that has completely changed my healing journey that I have been on, and this is inner child work. When I was 13, I started creating YouTube videos, and I loved it. I felt creative, it was fun, it was a way to express myself, but I remember this one moment so clearly. I made a cute morning routine. So I was 13 at the time, so this is 12 years ago, before morning routines were extremely trendy. But I made a morning routine and I edited it, and it was me waking up, washing my face, doing my makeup, making my breakfast. I had taught myself how to edit everything, and so I had edited that video, and I was so proud because it was probably the best that I had edited at that point in time. And I showed it to someone who I really looked up to at the time, and I really valued their opinion, and I showed it to them, and they said to me, "Why would someone want to watch you get ready in the morning?" And I don't think they had any ill intent of saying that, but saying that to me led me to believe that what I wanted to do was stupid and my ideas were dumb. And I stopped creating YouTube videos after that because I shut that part of myself down because I felt so hurt. So I stopped creating, and for years, I have carried this kind of like resentment towards everyone else that was doing social media and building their businesses and thriving. And I would catch myself thinking, that could have been me and that should have been me. And what I didn't realize at the time was that my younger self, that 13-year-old version of me who just wanted to express herself, was still carrying that wound that I wasn't even aware of. Fast forward to now, through therapy and healing and journaling and all of those different things, I've reconnected with that part of myself. And every time I create content today, I think of 13-year-old version of MJ, 13-year-old me. She's so cute and she just loves creating content. So I try to create things that she would be proud of, and that has motivated my recent content, is just showing up for the 13-year-old version of MJ that was so hurt in that moment in time. So in this episode, I'm going to share more of this personal story and how I got to where I'm at today. And then we'll get into what inner child work and inner child healing actually is and why it's so powerful. And then finally, I will give some practical tips and ways that you can start doing inner child work for yourself so that you can reconnect to that younger version of yourself and carry them with you in a way that feels healing and not heavy and draining. Let's dive right in. So a little bit more on my story. When I was 11 or 12 probably, I started watching YouTube videos. I would watch Crazy Ray Ray, Mac Barbie 07. I'm trying to think of what the other, RCL Beauty 101. There's so many fun names, and I would grow up watching them, and they were all beauty gurus, and I loved their content, and I thought it was so cool. So I started making my own videos. I had my channel. It was That Gal 5. And I had two of my childhood friends also loved to create content. So the three of us had our own channels, and then we had some collaboration channels too, and we made such fun videos. And in our free time, we would make YouTube videos. We would film makeup tutorials. We would do hauls. There was even some Vlogmas videos that I did too. But it was just so much fun to create content, and I literally did not have a care in the world what anyone else thought about it. I just thought I was the coolest thing ever for being able to like make my own YouTube videos and figure them out. But going to that moment that I described earlier, where the person that I really looked up to just said to me, why would someone want to watch you get ready in the morning? And like I said, I don't feel like it was out of ill intent at all. I don't think they were trying to be mean. I think they were just genuinely curious because they weren't very familiar with YouTube and why people were posting videos. But 13-year-old MJ took that as, your ideas are stupid, you can't do what you want to do, like you're not good enough, and all of these different things. And that is a memory that I was not holding on to. I was not thinking about that every single day, but it was really ingrained into me, like all of those different things that I just said. I really, truly, deep down believed those. And it wasn't until this year, after I had started some therapy, that I discovered this version of me in this past little inner child MJ. For those of you that know, which I think is most of you because I shared on my first podcast episode that I started going to therapy this year, but I had started going to therapy this year in April, I believe, to help with some of the disordered eating habits that I was struggling with, because I would use food as a way to punish myself, and it was a way to have control in my life, especially in the areas that I felt out of control. So I started going to therapy for that, and it's been really, really healing, and I've been able to heal from those disordered eating habits that I was having in the first place. So now that I'm out of that hard time where I was struggling with food all the time, I wanted to understand how I even got to that point and what went wrong, because I wasn't always obsessed with food and I didn't always like to punish myself. And so I was confused and I wanted to understand myself better. So I've done a lot of inner work and just reflecting and lots of journaling. So I'll share lots of different prompts shortly. But there was one day, it was after my therapy session actually, and I think we just had a regular session that day, like nothing crazy, just kind of chatting. And it's always the sessions too where I feel like I go in and I'm like, I don't have anything to talk about, that I end up leaving with a good amount of stuff. But it was after that session and I had logged onto TikTok, and there's this guy, his name is Higher Up Wellness on TikTok. I'm not sure of his actual name, but he's a solid guy. He has his own fitness app. He is just like a great mentor and a great role model. So I like his content. So anyways, he had posted a video talking about this exercise that his mentor had him do, where he essentially, closed his eyes, laid down, and took himself back to a younger version of himself where he wasn't so worried about what everyone else thought of him. Because when we're younger, we can have such big dreams and goals and want to do all these things, and we're very ambitious and very carefree. But then somewhere along the way, we start to believe that our dreams are too big, that's unrealistic, all of these different limiting beliefs. And so he was instructed to go back to that time. And for him, I think it was when he was 7 or 9, and bring that version of him with him. So kind of have a conversation with them, apologize, like parent them essentially, because they're a child and they're wounded and you need to take care of them. And then bring them with you. And so after I listened to that, I sat there for like 15 minutes and I was just thinking and thinking. I didn't think that I had any big traumatic events that happened to me when I was younger. I'm very grateful and very blessed that my childhood was great for the most part. But traumatic things can be like small t trauma too. It doesn't have to be like a big, huge event, but it can even be things that people said to you that you didn't realize were hurting you. So I was reflecting, and then my mind took me to that moment when that person said to me, why would someone want to watch your morning routine? And it got me thinking, because I have had this resentment and this frustration. Whenever I would watch other content creators that I used to love watching, I would watch them doing their morning routines. I would watch them building their content creation business and just being so successful. And I, as time went on, would get more and more frustrated because I felt like that could have been me. That could have been me. I had that idea and I didn't do it. And so I started looking back on my old YouTube videos, and I had actually posted a video of me doing like an outfit of the day check now, like one of my Paragon outfit of the day videos. And then I added a video of me doing an outfit of the day when I was 13, and I like put them together. And I can't remember exactly what the text was, but it was something about she would be so proud if she could see me now or something like that. But I had to go back to that version of me, and I realized that she was so hurt by that comment, and she was carrying this resentment for so long because she felt like she couldn't do what she wanted to do, and she was so frustrated at everyone else that got to do what they wanted to do because it wasn't fair to her because she couldn't do what she wanted to do, but she was the one that was limiting herself. So I've recently made this shift in my content over the past month and a half where I'm now creating content that the 13-year-old version of me would be proud of, because so much of social media these days is like a copy and paste of what everyone else is doing. You just follow the trends and do what the algorithm likes, and it's just all about, I guess, like copy what everyone else is doing. And I realized I was shrinking myself down so much by trying to follow the exact content that everyone else was doing and do what was trendy instead of doing what I wanted to do, even if that didn't reach as many people, even if a lot of people didn't like it as much. Like, I needed to show up for that version of me, that younger version of me who was so creative and wanted to show off her outfits and show off her makeup and show off her morning routine. Like, oh my gosh, when I do a morning routine on YouTube, it's going to be so good because I have been waiting 12 years for this moment. I've started just showing up for her, and it has started to heal that version of me. And I still, going back to that time, have a lot of hurt in my heart, and I feel bad that I let that hurt me for so long and I didn't realize, but I'm very grateful that I was able to go back in time and in my mind, and apologize to that 13-year-old version and tell her what she needed to hear, which is your dreams are not too big. Your dreams are not stupid. You can do whatever you want to do, even if other people don't understand it. And just kind of console her in that moment. I think console is the word. I don't know. But give her the love that she needed in that moment and kind of like reach my hand out and bring her with me. And it's such a weird thing to describe to someone else. But when you can go back in time to a certain moment where you needed to be loved and you didn't know how to show up for yourself, like when you can go back and bring them with you, it is the most powerful thing. The lesson that I want to highlight here is that your inner child never disappears. They just wait for you to show up. Moving along, let's talk about what inner child healing actually means. The inner child is a part of you that still holds on to the childhood experiences, emotions, and beliefs, even if we don't realize it. And these younger versions of us never really disappear. They live inside of us, and they show up in such subtle ways in adulthood. I have a few examples here. If you were criticized a lot as a child, if you felt like you were never good enough and felt like you could just never live up to the standards of others, whether it was you had parents that were overachievers and felt like you needed to do that too, or if you couldn't keep up with your siblings, or if your parents just never acknowledged your hard work, then you might carry perfectionism or a fear of failure into your adulthood. If in your childhood you felt like your voice didn't matter, you might struggle to speak up or to feel confident as an adult. And as for me, if you were told that your hobbies were silly or not worth it, you might hide your creativity now because you don't feel good enough. But inner child healing is all about reconnecting with those younger parts of yourself and acknowledging the pain that they went through and giving them the love and safety and essentially the parenting that they needed at that time and the permission that they needed at that time. And it's not about fixing yourself because you're not broken, and it's not about erasing the past, but it's about bringing that younger version of yourself into your life now so they can feel safe and supported and free to be themselves, so that you are free to be yourself. And one of the most powerful ways that I have understood it is through reparenting your younger self and your childhood self. So essentially becoming the parent that younger version needed. So for me, that is offering 13-year-old Madison kindness instead of criticism, and creating a space for myself to essentially play and be creative without judgment. So allowing myself to do what I want to do, which is creating content. I love to create content. I love to romanticize my life. And that is honestly what I've done for years. And I just made an episode on it last week, but that's what I've done for years is I have romanticized everything that I do in my life, whether it's my morning routines, because I've been a big routine girl since I was a kid. My outfits, my makeup, like just romanticizing everything and like enjoying every moment. I have done that since I was younger. And that's part of what creating content is for me, is documenting that and honestly seeing my life as a movie. And so healing for me now is showing up for the 13-year-old version of MJ. So it's creating the content that I want to create, not because I have to or not because it's trendy, but because it's what the 13-year-old version of me has been dying to do since that day where I shut myself down. So inner child work is giving the younger version of yourself what they always deserved. Let's talk a little bit about inner child healing and some practical tips that you guys can use for working on your own healing, because no matter what, everyone has something to heal from, whether it's big or small. And if you can give yourself space to acknowledge those feelings that you've had and just give yourself compassion and love, it is so powerful. So it would not be an MJ podcast moment without sharing some journal prompts. So we're going to start with that. The first journal prompt is, what did I love doing as a child that I no longer allow myself to do? So as we know, for me, that was creating content, but that could also be sports. That could also be some artistic thing, whether it's painting or coloring or dancing. If you liked to be creative in the sense that you would rearrange your room a million times, because I used to love to do that too. Like, rearrange your house. Move some furniture around. Like, give yourself space to tap into that feeling of rearranging your room. Because when I would do that when I was younger, I would like literally move my bed to the other side of the room, move my dresser. Like, I would just move my room around, and it felt like a new environment. And I loved to do that and like clean my room and then have a candle lit after. And I was like, oh, it feels like a whole new vibe when it's the exact same furniture, the exact same room, just slightly shifted around. So allowing yourself to tap into the hobbies and things that you used to love doing when you were growing up. Journal prompt number 2 is, what moments from childhood still sting? These things might not come up to you right away. Like, they might not pop in your mind right away, but it might just take some sitting and thinking and reflecting and looking at the beliefs that you hold to be true today, whether it's I'm not worthy of that, people like me don't get things like that, I dream too big, whatever it is. Like, look at the belief and then kind of trail back to where that even came from in the first place. And the third journal prompt is, what would my younger self need to hear from me right now? So going back to 13-year-old MJ, I tell her, your dreams are not too big. You can do anything that you set your mind to. It's okay to be misunderstood. And one thing that I've learned recently too is, well, it's silly to say that I've learned this because it makes sense, but it never really clicked in my mind, is that we all have our own minds and we all have our own visions. And just because I have a vision in my mind of what I want to do with my life, other people might not be able to see that and understand that. And that's not their fault because they're not in my mind. And so you can't expect someone to understand everything that you're seeing and envisioning in your mind because it's not their dream. It's not their life. And if you can find peace in being misunderstood, or I guess that's the root of it, is being misunderstood, because I was so frustrated for so long because I felt misunderstood, because I felt like if someone else could just understand what I wanted to do, then I would give myself permission to do it, instead of just realizing your vision is yours for a reason. It's not in everyone else's head. So you can execute on it and, teach about it later and be the blueprint essentially on like how you figured it out. But you can't expect other people to understand it yet if it's not in the physical world. And don't allow yourself to stay stuck because you're waiting for validation from someone else to do the things that you want to do. So those are the 3 journal prompts that I recommend that you do. Moving along to some inner child healing, you could also do some creative play. So you could bring back hobbies that you used to enjoy. Like I said, this could be drawing or dancing or singing or playing outside. And I'm not saying you have to go like play on the swing sets or anything, but if you used to like to play soccer, like go kick the ball around with your family, or go on an outdoor walk, or go jump in a pile of leaves because it's almost fall. But you know what I mean, like do something that the younger version of you used to do. My friend and I were talking about this the other day, and we were talking about how people these days are not allowing themselves to be bored. Because like when we were kids and you were bored, like you would go play with your friend, or you would go color, or you would go outside, or you would do all of these things. But today, if you're bored, you just pull out your phone. And it's like, you have to be so intentional with allowing yourself to be bored and to do something besides staring at your phone. And so I challenge you to bring back a hobby that you used to enjoy: drawing, singing, dancing, playing outside, creating content, whatever it is. The next thing I'm going to talk about is some reparenting rituals. So another way to start some inner child healing work is to work on reparenting rituals. So this is where you are caring for yourself in the way that a loving parent would. So allowing for rest, allowing for joy, allowing for nourishment. So showing up for yourself as that parent version that you need. Because what I have observed is that even though a lot of us are adults, self-care neglect is a big thing. And some people do it intentionally, some people don't. But it can be so healing and so powerful when you show up and take care of you. Obviously, therapy is really good for inner child healing as well if you find a good therapist, but I know that's not available to everyone. There's some guided meditations that you can do on YouTube as well that can kind of help guide you through this. But my biggest thing with self-reflection is, like, my therapist is great, and she gets me thinking about a lot of things in my life without actually directly asking me the question, but she kind of gets me to think inward and reflect and, ask myself, why do I believe that? Why do I do this? And so if you can answer the questions in the journal prompts that I listed previously, and then just kind of sit with that and think about who you are. Like, I had to think about who Madison is, because I know when I was deep in the pits of struggling with food and all of that, I lost all fun parts of me. I was not fun to be around because I was so miserable, because I was constantly thinking about food and what my next meal was going to be, that I couldn't even laugh and have fun. Like, I was so serious all the time, and I didn't want to do anything fun because I was so needing to control my food. And as I've taken a step back and looked at why I felt the need to control food, is because I wanted to have control over something in my life, because I was not allowing myself to do what I wanted to do. And it caused me to be so bitter and frustrated with the world. And so I felt like, okay, this is one thing that I can control and that no one can take this away from me. So I went a little too hard on that, obviously, and got to a bad spot. And so being able to pull myself out of that and just look back and understand and give myself some compassion and love, because I didn't want to be hard on myself and be like, why did you let yourself get to such a bad spot? But I wanted to be understanding and giving myself that space to be like, okay, I read this quote in the book earlier. This book that I'm reading right now is written by a therapist, but she said that another therapist said to her one time, remember that someone's problem that they're coming in with used to be their solution. And so for me, my problem was the disordered eating that I was having, but it was the solution to me feeling out of control in my life at that point in time. And so if you can look at whatever struggle that you're having, if it's overeating, if it's, relying on substances or whatever it is, that is the solution to your problem that you have been masking for so long. And now that solution is becoming your problem. I think I just talked in a circle there for a little bit, but I hope you understand what I was saying with that. So that is all that I have for today's episode. I hope that you learned something from this and that you can go back to your childhood self and just reconnect with them a little bit, have some fun, look at what they used to do, and bring that part of you into your daily life. Because I know that we're adults and we all have responsibilities, but if you can come back home to yourself instead of looking for outside things to make you happy, like a new job, a new this, a new that, looking for all these outside things because you feel so lost. If you can just look inward for a moment and connect to that younger version of you that was free and wild and fun, connect with them and bring them with you. And remember, your inner child does not need you to be perfect. They just need you to show up and be that person that they needed at that time. So if you're feeling up to it, do the journal prompts for sure. I think it would be very beneficial for everyone. And share this episode with a friend if you found it helpful, because I think so many people can benefit from healing work, and many people might not even realize that they're wounded in the first place. And if you have any questions or anything that you want to share about this episode, definitely shoot me a DM or comment on this episode's reel, whichever you prefer. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you learned something, and show up for that younger version of you. Thank you. Have a great week, and I will talk to you next week. Mwah.